Hi, Jennifer Chamberlain here today. It is March 3rd, 2020, and we are outside just doing a recording so that we can prepare for the 4-4 meditation that I'm planning on doing, which is meant to be a celebratory meditation in the Pluto and Jupiter conjunction. Everybody has probably seen the post on my page about that. If not, you can go back and read about it and find out more. But basically the meditations that I have set for today, which is again April 3rd, 2020, and tomorrow, April 4th, 2020, is in retrospect of the information that's being given and the things that are going on and the time that we're in. It says that there is a portal that is opening on 4-4 and that we're dealing with a time of darkness before a resurrection. Very fitting that it's around Easter. And there is a lot of information in those posts. If you do choose to go back and to review them, you'll learn more about it. But what I'm here to do today is basically to help the preparation for us to be able to manifest in that portal that opens on April 4th, because it's a new beginning. It's the creation of all the things that we wish to see in our life, and it has no limits. So it's time to go big or go home. So basically what I want to do today is I want to hit some spots. If you feel that you're having any sort of kind of reluctance or anxiety, or you're living more in a state of fear or uncertainty, not knowing, what I want to do today is work with mindfulness so that we can deal with some of that stuff, allowing it to come to the surface, so that when it comes to the surface, we can then let go of it. So in the preparation for this meditation, I'm going to go over a few things that I have taught. I am a wellness coordinator. I work at OCBTS at night as adult education instructor for workshops that I've created. Some that are called emotional intelligence, meditation to heal the mind, which deals with mindfulness, and so on and so forth. But basically what I wanted to do is touch some of the important parts of those workshops so that you can have an idea of where to start navigating through this journey if you are feeling uncertain, so that you can celebrate with us, because it's so important to celebrate. So what I have here is from the emotional intelligence workshop that I do, and basically what it talks about is that in emotional intelligence there are 4 areas. The 4 areas that we need to work on in order to be able to develop our emotional intelligence, which is something that we can develop so that we can be better emotionally, more stable, more understanding, more compassionate, all those things. They fall into these 4 categories, and the 4 categories start as self-awareness, because if you are not aware of yourself, then it's very hard to translate into your relationships. So the first 2 categories are self-awareness and self-management. We learn how to become aware of our emotions and our feelings, and then we learn how to manage it. What are they teaching us? What are they telling us? What can we grow from learning about them? And then it actually transfers over into our social awareness and our relationship management, which is the second 2 areas of emotional intelligence. So basically, this is just a quick cheat sheet that I'm going to just read for you so that you can get an idea without me going into great detail about what that means. And then I'm going to give you some samples of what putting that into practice would look like. So for self-awareness, it's the recognition of who I am. Self-awareness is the ability to recognize and understand your moods and emotions and drives, as well as their effects on others. Then from self-awareness, you move into self-management, which is what I do. The self-management component is the ability to control or redirect disruptive impulses and moods, the propensity to suspend judgment and to think before acting. So often we react, and if we learn what we're needing to learn from whatever it is that we're having a reaction from, we become familiar with our emotions, and then we learn how to manage it. So self-management has a lot to do with taking that pause and giving yourself the time to breathe, learn what is a disruptive impulse, learn and decide which disruptive impulses they don't serve you, so that you can then redirect. So we learn how to manage ourselves, and in learning how to manage ourselves, we move into the social component. And with the social component, social awareness is the ability to understand the emotional makeup of other people. Skill in treating people according to their emotional reactions, which actually is the definition of empathy. So for all of you empaths out there, because I'm sure that I have very many of them, I am one myself, sometimes we don't recognize or didn't recognize at some point that we have this skill. Sometimes it's discussed as a double-edged sword, because as it works for us, it also can work against us if we are not aware of our own self, our own feelings, and how to work with them instead of allowing them to take over and to become reactive. So social awareness is indeed the taking of your self-awareness and your self-management, and then being able to work with it socially. When we become familiar with ourselves and we learn our own reactions, then we can put things into place and understand the people that are around us. With empathy, one of the biggest lessons and one of the greatest joys is being able to have compassion for others, even in states of hysteria and just chaos. So being able to be that peace and being able to be that solid foundation for somebody is actually the way through all chaos and in creating a better harmony in life and a stronger humanity. So there you go with social awareness. And then as you move from social awareness, once you recognize your empathy and you're recognizing how your empathy and other people's reactions counteract, then we move into social skills, which is the proficiency in managing the relationship and building networks. It's an ability to find common ground and build rapport. So I'm just going to put this up for you, and you'll be able to see it just as a little quick cheat sheet. If you want, you can take a screenshot of it so you have it, so that you can remind yourself. And again, this comes from the Emotional Intelligence Workshop. Now that we understand what those things are and how our emotions can serve us and help us move through things, the 4 areas of emotional intelligence in action would actually be exercises in being able to do this and accomplish these things. And the way that you would become more self-aware and more able to manage self-emotions to lead to social awareness and better relationships starts with self-awareness. Some of the activities that you can do for self-awareness is knowing your story and how it affects you. One of the hardest things that I was very reluctant to do for a very long time is to look at myself, to look at my pain, to try to understand those emotions and to put them into place. I'm big on writing and I'm big on editing my life, but it's very hard to do if you don't know your story. So you have to be willing and open to knowing your story, to looking at the things. You do become mindful of these things. You know, a lot of times, like I said, instead of being impulsive and reacting, then we can stop ourselves and we can realize what we want to get out of something. But the initial response of the brain and from the experiences that we've had and the pain that we felt is not to stop and pause. You know, so it is really important to know your story and how it affects you. It definitely helps you to be able to put it into place in empathy and in other relationships. Once you can understand yourself, you can see those similarities that appear in the world around you, because we do attract exactly the energy that we're putting out. And then you can put fires out if you know that you've put the fire out in yourself, or you've halted the things that weren't really so good feelings for so long. So the next part of self-awareness that would be an exercise for you to work on would be to make peace with your past. Things happen. I know that there are a lot of things out there that are very difficult that we experience. We experience them for a lesson. I have developed in my own thoughts and in my own process to see the lesson in it and to understand, even when those things hurt a lot, that if it hurt that much, I'm not going to let it be for no reason. Definitely going to make good of it. I'm going to take that and I'm going to use it so that it doesn't have to happen again. And I have this process of thinking that regardless of whether I experience the same thing over and over again, because we do revisit the same lessons, that I'm more equipped once I've gone through these processes, once I've looked at myself, once I've understood a little bit more, maybe not even my whole story, if I can't stand the thoughts of some of the things that are in my past, that's calling for you to learn more forgiveness and not to forgive and let it happen again. You don't have to let those things happen again. It's just forgiving so that you can set yourself free. So finding peace with your past is a very, very poignant part of self-awareness. One of the other exercises that you can do to develop more self-awareness is know your beliefs, your emotions, and your behavior patterns. All these things really do coincide, so I'm not going to speak in depth on each one of them because you can take what I just said and apply it to others. But knowing what you believe is very different than just living the life that you've lived or knowing your story. Because this is the part that I want to take and I want to prepare, because at this point with this portal on 4-4, we're taking what we believe and we're changing it to better. So it's really hard to be able to create and co-create the world that is available to us in this new beginning if you don't have any ideas of what you believe. Now, beliefs, I think they take time to develop. So obviously by tomorrow when we do the next meditation, they might not all be in place. But if you have gotten to know your story and understand your past, then you recognize where you don't want to be. And sometimes that's the best thing. If you can't really decide or you don't really feel open and understanding and full of dreams, just know where you don't want to be. Because that'll get you on the road to the opposite. If I know I don't want to be somewhere, then I know that there are other options, other opportunities that I'm looking for. I can develop my beliefs. I can develop the things that I want to manifest in my life. I can create, and the sky is the limit. So the next one is know your relationship patterns. Absolutely. Because sometimes we don't recognize that we're doing the same thing over and over again because we might have gotten so caught up on the past. We might not really understand our story. So all these things really do come together. You have to start to recognize and look at your relationship patterns. And all of these things, like I said, come together and they really do make you aware. And it's a journey. It's not something that you're going to do overnight, but it's definitely something to at least become aware of so that you're familiar with it and that you're working towards improving that self-awareness so that it will then translate and move into self-management, social awareness, and then relationship management. So the other exercises that would be in the next column for self-management would be learn skills for breathing and relaxation. Mindfulness is one of the main things that we can all basically come together on. It doesn't take any religious belief or any certain spiritual understanding. We can be mindful, and mindfulness is a huge component. It does deal with skills in breathing and relaxation. So I am going to go over this. A lot of people I know wear these. These are called Mala bracelets. And Mala bracelets are 108 beads. If you have one of these beautiful things, wear it and look beautiful in it because they are absolutely gorgeous. This is malachite. You can choose whichever one. And I'm actually going to be making one of these, and I'm going to actually record a video on this because I want to have a personal one that I've made myself. But this is the first one that I got, and this is malachite. It's one of my favorite crystals. So basically, for those that do know Catholicism, this would work a lot like a rosary. You would use the Mala bracelet, and it is ideal if you do wear it as jewelry because you always have it on you. So if you wear it and you're feeling stressed and you're needing to start managing yourself in those self-aware moments that are creating a certain reaction in your body, take it off. Learn the skill of breathing and relaxing. So basically what you would do with a Mala bracelet is 108 beads represents a full cycle. And you would take this and just breathe. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Deep breath in. Breath exhale. Deep breath in. And exhale. Doing that 108 times, even just in the few that I just did, definitely settles you. It helps you to relax. It helps you to become centered. And it helps you to start to be more mindful of the things that you want to be putting your attention on versus the things that you're reacting and your impulse is dragging you into. So, a Mala bracelet. There are other breathing and relaxation techniques that I can share, but to get through this first, I want to do that. So the next part of self-management is, in an exercise, in action, would be to complete your basic emotional healing work. Already discussed that. The next one would be learn skills for soothing and motivating yourself. Motivating yourself and soothing yourself, yes, does work with breathing and relaxation, but motivating is actually a little bit different because you want to find something that really makes you want to create where I talked about on that belief, like where do I stand on my belief. And I am definitely a dreamer. Sometimes I do need motivation. We all do, though, need motivation. Some of the things that I do is to try to look at where I have been and what I've accomplished that I have just taken for granted, that I kind of forgot about or that I overlooked because it was so simple, it didn't seem profound at the moment. And then you recognize that you've accomplished a lot more than you recognized when you weren't even paying attention. So that helps to motivate me. You can use other techniques. It doesn't always have to be work. I mean, I know that I'm here talking about emotional intelligence and I'm going to be talking about mindfulness. And I do work with a group, a specialized group, where they're working on rebuilding their lives. And some of the time when I go into that group, one of the things that I do is like, okay guys, we're just gonna have fun, because it doesn't always have to be work. If it's always work, then you're not really feeling the joy that you have inside you. So you have to really motivate yourself and to allow that joy and that happiness to flow. And sometimes it's simple and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it feels profound. So be gentle with yourself and give yourself a break when you need to. And motivating yourself by looking on your past, it might help you. You might recognize something that you hadn't recognized. But then, even just laughing, allow yourself to be present and to enjoy the moment. And sometimes I just do things that just seem irrational or just seem crazy just because I can. And it flips the script on me. It helps me to feel like I'm in a completely different mindset. So you need to find your way to motivate yourself, as well as you need to find your way to soothe yourself. And then the next self-management is not going to be a surprise to many people. Maintain healthy eating and exercise. On this topic, I know it's hard, and we all have a lot of different things that are thrown at us. I know that there are wonderful programs out there, and there's so many different opportunities. You can use many methods and many of what's called pyramid kind of manufacturing of products and distribution. But basically what I feel with this is self-management is, if it works for you, great. And if you live by it and you think it's amazing, then stick to it. But maintaining healthy eating is knowing your body and listening to your body. Because somebody that can say, I can't eat peanuts, may not be able to eat peanuts, but peanuts could be absolutely the perfect thing for somebody who needs grounding. Any kind of nut is a root vegetable, and you can use those sort of energetic and chakra balancing through eating as well. But you have to know and listen to your body so that you know how your body is responding to it, so that you can maintain healthy eating for yourself. Manage those sorts of things as best as you can. Use the things that work for you. Recognize what doesn't work for you. And then see about, if you can eliminate it, how that changes in your body. And you know what? Sometimes it's just for a season. We've all heard this, right? There's a reason and there's a season. People come into your life. Well, sometimes you'll eat something and it'll be like, oh, I can't eat that. And then next time you're in a completely different place. We change every single day. We are not the same people that we were yesterday or even 5 minutes minutes ago. So obviously, if it's something that's an allergic reaction, you're not going to do that, because I'm not recommending that. You definitely need to take care of your health. But just become familiar and check in with yourself. And if you drop things and they don't work for you and you don't have the desire for them, great. If you feel like, you know what, I want that and I'm going to try it, and you start to add it back into your diet, then you'll recognize whether it was a reason or a season, and whether it works for you or it doesn't, or how you can use maintaining healthy eating to benefit your energetic fields. And exercise. Exercise is always great. You have to know your exercise routine that works for you too. I used to do yoga all the time. I loved yoga. If you know my DNA makeup, I am a very high energy, fire, motivated, go and getter kind of person. That's my routine, that's my spirit, that's the way that I present myself without even trying. It's just who I am. However, gentle yoga was what I needed when I tried vinyasa, or I tried all of these other different sorts of working through mudras and sun salutations. It didn't work for me, and my body hurt. And it was just that it needed rest. So maintaining healthy eating and exercise is going to also be based on your own self. So it's really important to become self-aware of what works for you and what is best for you, so that you can manage it accordingly. So then as you go into social awareness, some of the exercises that you could do to develop your emotional intelligence in a social setting, once you feel like you've gotten it going in yourself, is understand nonverbal social signals. Develop positive views of others, understand basic human emotional needs, and understand games and personal integrity. So a lot of this is going to be different because we deal with different people and we see different things. So these examples could vary greatly for each one of us individually and the people that were around at any given day or different times and different moments. But one of the things that I wanted to make note of was that at the beginning of this quarantine with COVID-19, people were hysterical. Not hysterical. They were going into hysteria, and they were creating a panic. And a lot of the people, thank God for who I have in my life, were not showing that and projecting that, and that helped me to remain positive and helped me to kind of deal with kindness opposed to lack and fear. But we don't understand how much we read nonverbal body language. You can see something and you can observe something, and you can watch even a scary movie and your heart will start racing. Now, some people that's great for, and this goes back to knowing yourself, because some people, they get a rush from an adrenaline and that helps them and it soothes their energy, or it helps them to then calm down. Other people will be set off. I myself can't watch horror movies. I literally feel like I am in the experience of what's going on. And it has gotten better as I've worked on these areas and started developing my emotional intelligence too, because I did become aware of it and I was able to redirect so that I wasn't having that reaction and that impulse in some way. But you do need to really understand, and a lot of people are people watchers. We observe people even when we're not realizing that we're observing people. But even just taking some time, if you're working on social awareness, become familiar with what people are putting out as nonverbal cues. There are a lot of things that we respond to without even having to be aware that we're responding. It's the same way that our breath works. We don't have to voluntarily breathe. Our body does that for us. So it's all fine. I mean, there are matters that come up and there are things that will happen, and we need to be okay and to go with the flow when we need to. But if that's something that's making you uncomfortable, social awareness is becoming familiar. Remember that empath and that empathy of what those people need. If you see somebody that is feeling like they're in hysteria or a panic, becoming aware of that, and that is what they're experiencing in that moment, will help you to then move into relationship management. And you can decide whether you want to deal with that or not at that point. But it definitely then goes forward into relationship management. And I think that that's a good example for you to understand exactly what I'm speaking of at this point. So, moving into relationship management, some of the exercises that you could do for relationship management to develop your emotional intelligence would be develop skills for effective listening and empathy, learn skills for healthy assertiveness, we need boundaries, learn conflict resolution skills, and develop skills for support and affirmation of others. Everybody is in a crazy place right now, and we are all over the place. Everybody has their own thing, is dealing with their own way of this quarantine. I personally believe that this quarantine is bringing us together in a way that we probably could not have accomplished in the amount of time, less amount of time, that it's taking by being in quarantine, opposed to continue on with our daily lives. So to develop skills for support and affirmation of others could be an act of kindness, it could be a smile, it could be a listening ear, as I said earlier. Develop skills for reflective listening and empathy. You don't always have to be a fixer and be putting a fire out. Sometimes you just need to listen and be there for that person. And sometimes you need to have assertiveness and put up boundaries so that you can prevent yourself from being over inundated with panic and fear if you feel that you're not stable and assertive enough or steady to be of assistance and to help change the response that that person that you're dealing with is experiencing at whatever time it is. So this all comes down to conflict resolution skills. So this all comes together, and I do think that this is a pretty compact list of a lot, but I think that it's shared in a simple and more understanding and implementable way. So I'm going to share this with you guys, and again, if you want to take a screenshot of it, this is from the Emotional Intelligence Workshop, and it's good to have. You might want to check in with yourself in a few weeks and say, hey, how about that? I accomplished this, or I did more of that, or I would definitely say that I've developed this and that, especially through this process of quarantine. Because the quarantine is changing us. We have this new beginning, and we have this amazing ability to do more for ourselves right now. We've been given peace, and quiet, and time. So, that's the emotional intelligence component. Now, some of the other things that I wanted to share with you, Meditation to Heal the Mind, the workshop that I have, talks a lot about how our reaction is something that we are unaware of, but that we can stop those reactions. It is actually the brain's job to send signals to our body. If the brain is not sending signals to our body, then we're not responding and we're not living. It's the process of the brain. It's kind of like telling your body, I know a lot of people don't like fear, me, myself. They don't like feeling those fears and those panics, but without fear and without your brain doing this job, you can find yourself in a lot of trouble. It's the job of the brain. So it's our job, in the people that we are and the people that we want to be, to create new connections and to allow our brain to train in a new pattern and in a new belief system. And just because that's the brain's job doesn't mean that it's not something that can't be adjusted. Our body has an amazing capacity to adapt and to heal itself. And it's because of the process of the way that the brain works and sends signals and our body functions in those methods, and we can breathe involuntarily because of this. We can read body cues and know when we're in danger. We can read happy moments and just experience what it feels like when somebody smiles at us, what that joy feels like. That's the body and the way that the brain sends signals to our body and releases endorphins and hormones and all of the wonderful things that our body does for us every single day. So Meditation to Heal the Mind actually talks a lot about being mindful. Like I said, it is a common thread and something that we can all come together on without having to have a specific belief or judgment, because mindfulness is without judgment. So basically, I just wanted to share one of the best books that I have read, and I would say the guru on mindfulness would be the book that is written by Jon Kabat-Zinn, and it includes the principles of mindfulness, And it basically talks about what those definitions are. So the book that is Wherever I Go, There I Am, and it's by Jon Kabat-Zinn, and I think that it's probably the best selling in mindfulness. But just to go over the principles of mindfulness so you get an idea, and this book is different, it's just not the principles of mindfulness. It actually talks about being and doing, and when we're being, it's different than doing. It's being present. But just to recap quickly, the Meditation to Heal the Mind workshop, the information would be to visit what those principles of mindfulness are. And those principles based on that book are non-judgment, patience, a beginner's mind, non-striving, trust, acceptance, letting go, gratitude, and generosity. Now, each one of them would be defined based on the principles of mindfulness by Jon Kabat-Zinn as this: non-judgment, to be an impartial witness to your experiences and the opinions, judgments, and reactions that arise. Again, that goes back to what I was talking about with self-awareness and self-management. Patience. Don't rush things. Let them unfold in their own time. A lot of what we're experiencing right now with this quarantine and the stresses that we feel or the lacks that we feel is because we don't have patience and we don't believe, we don't trust. But it's because we also don't understand divine timing and divine intervention even in our life in some of these circumstances. So having patience and not rushing things and letting them unfold in their own time is not something that we do. Most of us, I mean, many of you probably do, but it's not something that we do. Most of us do more than not. So patience is the principle for mindfulness. The third, beginner's mind, is see everything as if it were for the first time with curiosity and openness. And again, seeing everything for the first time with curiosity and openness, that helps us to build on that belief of limitless instead of being limited. And it allows us to co-create and to start to dream and manifest things outside of the box, as I spoke about. So a beginner's mind, sometimes we strive so much and we want to be educated, or we want to be professional, or we want to be of high status. And there's nothing wrong with wanting and experiencing those things and accepting those beautiful blessings and acknowledging and achieving and accomplishing any of that. But when you're working with mindfulness, you should also consider what it is like to be in a beginner's mind, because that will help you if you're looking at things for a first time with curiosity and openness to even grow further beyond. Because honestly, no matter how big you get and no matter what you're doing or what you've accomplished, you're always at a new starting point. The more you achieve, the more you're growing. The next moment, even in the cycles, if you look at numerology, we go from 0 to 9, and there's always a completion. And at that completion, it's a beautiful thing that we've completed and accomplished what we've accomplished. Where are we going though? We're going to a beginner's mind, because the rest is to be developed, or to be desired, or to be created, and to be designed by us in whatever way we wish to move forward. So the next one is non-striving, which I spoke about a little bit already, but be aware of striving for results. Focus on seeing things as they are moment to moment. This is basically the talking of being and doing. There's nothing wrong with doing. There's a time for doing, but there's a time for being. And if you're trying to be, then you need to be in the moment. You need to not be striving for results, because that is the difference in being and doing. Being is just being. It's present. It's not doing anything. And if you're striving for results, then you are not being, you're doing. The next one is trust. Trust in yourself, honor your feelings and your intuition. Trust has been a huge piece of my life, parts of my puzzle. It's not easy, especially if you've been hurt. And this goes back to knowing yourself, knowing your story, knowing how it affects you, and making peace with your past. I understand it also works with meditation to heal the mind. Our body responds in certain ways based off the experiences that we've had, and that's okay. but we have to trust the process in some point. And again, this goes back to some of the lessons where I've spoken earlier about where I've created thoughts and I've edited my life and I've come up with my own process, which works for me. If it works for you, great. But the thoughts and the process that I have help me to say, okay, if I can believe that something good is going to come of this, and I'm working on something better, then I could trust it a little more. I can grow and expand and amplify and create and continue to move forward when it's time to be doing instead of being. So trust is an issue, but it is something that we really do need to learn. And at this point in the quarantine, it's being given to us. You have to trust. And we're all developing our own faith in whatever it is that you believe in your own faith in even your own self and your own abilities and your own willingness to participate in a new way of life. We're all working through that. But we do have to sometimes stop and sit down and just trust the process, that it's unfolding in divine timing and that it's happening as it needs to. And we need to honor that, and we need to trust ourselves. We need to trust the fact that our body is working the way it needs to, and it's providing us with what is next, or what we need and is next to come. Acceptance. See things the way they actually are instead of denying or resisting what is. So this goes back to what I was talking about. I said it earlier, I love to edit my life. There is a very big difference in being naive and editing your life and accepting things for what they are. When I talk about acceptance, everything is going to come down to self-love and forgiveness. That's always where it comes down to. Half of us, most of us, at some point in our life, have not felt deserving and worthy in order to receive. And how can we accept the many blessings that are being given to us if we're not willing to accept our blessings because we don't feel like we are deserving and worthy of it? Again, this is a lot of the reason why I believe we don't have beliefs and we don't know what we want to create in our lives, and maybe we don't dream bigger because we're not accepting of what may come, whether it be difficult or not. I don't really use good or bad. I use favorable or unfavorable, this or that. Those are all also ways that you can work on adjusting, the way that you are and how you see the world. It could be this and that. It's not always good, it's not always bad, although there are polarities that we deal with. And we are dealing with a moment right now that in the Pluto and Jupiter conjunction talks about the dark nights. It's like the dark nights of the soul, or shadow work in tarot, or moon work opposed to sun work. There are definitely polarities. I'm not saying that those things don't exist. I say that I edit my life and the way that I see things so that I can accept them whether I felt they were good or bad. Because without being able to accept, I cannot receive the many blessings that I trust the universe is bringing me, or that I trust I'm deserving and worthy of, and that I feel can create a new world in this new beginning for a beautiful humanity. So letting go would be the next one. Letting go. Let each experience be what it is without attaching to it. If you do yoga and you meditate, you know a lot about detachment and not attaching. And I know that there are certain things that we're not, we're just not. If you're a yogi and if you're a holistic person and you're a light worker, I understand that there is an attachment. Looks bad. If you're feeling like you're working on those things, you may be working on detachment opposed to attachment. But there are things that we're attached to, and there are things that we love, and there are things that we shouldn't want to let go of. So I know that attachment is an issue, but letting go of the experience based on whether it's something you need to attach to or not goes back to you being able to self-manage and to understand, to be aware of where it's coming from, why you feel the need to attach to it, and whether you need to manage manage it, or whether you need to practice detachment or attachment to those circumstances. But we all know that we have stuff to let go of. So let it go. Let each experience be what it is without attaching to it. Now, I would definitely say this is more about the time where we're being opposed to doing. But just as a principle of mindfulness, if you practice mindfulness or you want to find a way to implement mindfulness, that is one of the principles. Gratitude. Be aware of the wonder and abundance of the present moment. Do not take anything for granted. That's a hard one. We take a lot for granted. Right now, I could tell you that I am grateful every day. I actually drum to the drum beat. I am grateful for this day. I feel blessed in many ways. There were still things that I was taking for granted. But again, it's a practice. It's not that we all have to be perfect. We practice mindfulness and we practice these principles in our lives, and we use them as they fit well and as they suit our needs. So being grateful is really important. It's one of the most amazing things, if you ask me. It's a wonderful component to bring many, many blessings into your life. It's a beautiful thing that attracts things that you cannot create maybe in your own mind, or that you don't realize is something that you want to create, going back to that belief in that co-creation earlier aspect of this. So practice gratitude. And I do a 30-day of gratitude around Thanksgiving because I feel like it taps into the energy. You should really be grateful every day. I try to be, but even if you try to plan on being grateful for a smaller amount of times, they say that it takes 21 days of doing something in order to change that connection that the meditation to heal your mind talks about. You got to do something 21 times in order to start to develop that connection for it to become your nature. So try to be grateful for 21 days. Or 7, take smaller steps if you need to, and then do 3 increments of 7, just to kind of get your gratitude in. And the last one was generosity. Be generous with others, creating feelings of joy and interconnectedness. Generosity is something that is very much needed. We all have things that we need in our lives. I wish that I personally could give everybody all of the things that they need in their lives. But generosity comes in many ways, many forms. In this whole quarantine from the beginning, one of the biggest things that I was trying to promote and project is the balance of love. Loved over fear. When panic arises and when hysteria is in place and when chaos is out there, be kind. And again, this goes back to what I talked about as far as compassion and empathy, and being able to help somebody if you've decided that you want to manage that relationship or be a guiding force in their life at that moment, because you are steady and stable and feeling mindful and grounded and capable of doing it. But kindness is an amazing thing, and compassion is an amazing thing, and they go right along those lines of the simplest form of ways that we can love and be very generous with it. Let it be contagious. Contagious in a good way. Kindness, contagious, opposed to this virus that's going around. So those were the principles. And now I just wanted to share with you, as I did with the mala earlier and my breath work, we're going to move into a meditation. But these are some mudras that you can use. Mudras are used in yoga. They are Ayurvedic or from Indian understanding. And basically these are 4 that I think are pretty awesome, especially when you're dealing with emotional intelligence or developing compassion and empathy and love, and also healing your own mind. So the next video is going to be the actual meditation. I'm separating it so that you can go back in and do the meditation whenever, but I just wanted to share these mudras with you. And the mudra right now, we're working on heart stuff, guys. We're working on love. How many times have I said love? Fear, the opposite, polarity. We're working with our hearts right now. We're working with kindness. We're working with compassion. We're working with expanding our heart and healing. So this mudra, open heart. The mudra. You've probably seen this. My son does this. My kids do this, you know. So to sit in the mudra would be connecting your energy lines based on the way that your energy flows through your body. And by linking your hands in this way, it creates the circuit or the connection or the cycle for the energy to flow with the intention for your open heart. So as we go through the meditation, you can choose one of these if you wish, or you can just sit when you do meditation or when you're being still and being versus doing in mudras like this. This is another activity for you, open heart. So the next one is spacious, because we have to create space. Right now we have a lot of downtime and we're trying to create even more space, even more intention so that we can grow. If you have been any one of the people that have been cleaning, organizing, emptying out closets, throwing away furniture, guess what you're working on? You're creating space. You're creating space because you know that we're, like I said, numerology, at an end and a new beginning is coming. We need to kind of shed that old stuff and get rid of that old energy that may be stagnant or that just was not serving us, because we're moving into a new space. So the spacious mudra is actually going to be your middle finger linked to your thumb, and it's facing upward with your fingers pointing out. And while we go into that meditation, if you're choosing to create space, you would be sitting with your hands in this mudra. You've probably done this mudra before. And just creating space. And even when you're breathing and you're doing some of that breath work, learning relaxation and learning breathing skills, this is a great mudra to be at, because it's opening up your lungs and you're creating space in your body. Spaciousness. So the next mudra that I wanted to share with you, for all of you that are fearing or feel like you are fearing, heavy burdens, feeling like you need a sense of lightness in order to lift your spirits. This mudra is lightness, and it's pointing up, it's lifting your spirits. It goes with as above, so below. If any of you know me, you've heard that over and over and over again, because I love that, as above, so below. It talks about bringing down the universal lightness, openness, powers and source, the limitlessness, the infinite, into the physical realm, which is the below part. So if as above, so below kind of strikes your chord like it does mine, lightness is something that you might want to work on, bringing the lightness into your life, especially if, like I said, you're feeling burdens or weighed down, or even have just done a lot of clearing out and organization. Feeling light should actually be something that you're feeling already, because you've removed so much. But if you're not, then you'd want to use lightness. One of the other things that I want to say real quick too, because I'm talking about clearing out now, and this is definitely the part where we are ending something to begin a new cycle. Clearing out things and organizing is a great way. I actually laughed in my own way of motivating myself and finding humor the other day, was as I was driving around my neighborhood, and there were many people with all of the furniture and the things that they were getting rid of. I actually, thinking in my own way and processing it in my own thought to myself, it's almost like we're clearing the skeletons out of our closet. So if you're clearing the skeletons out of your closet, or if you're organizing and getting rid of things, sage. Because think about it in that aspect. If you're acting on something and bringing it to a physical sense by removing things, energetically you are also releasing. So energetically you may feel better, and you're removing things and you're releasing, and that's great, awesome. But you also want to sage. You want to clear out that energy as best as you can. It also works to help clear the air. It removes bacterial, viral, and germs. So work on saging, and I did have a video I might be able to share if you don't have your own way of clearing your own space, but you should be saging your space, especially after a big clearing out and throwing away of stuff. You definitely have to sage and will only benefit you the more you do it. So the next one, as we all come together in a healed humanity, and on the 4-4 meditation, we are going to be working with healing the world and coming together and being in celebration that the darkness has passed or will be passing, because we'll be creating our own sense of life as we wish to see it. This would be the 4th mudra, and the 4th mudra is wholeness. And just like the heart, you would be holding wholeness. I do not teach mudras, but I do believe that in this mudra, instead of your fingers being interlocked, that they need to lay on top of one another and intergrade in a close sense of a circle. Alright guys, this video has gone on longer than I wanted it to, but I'm going to move into the meditation, and as I said, it's going to be separate, so we are at a conclusion of this informative preparation for your meditation. Thank you for being here. This is just my little Tibetan singing bowl. Closing things off as if this was a ceremony, because in life everything is a ceremony. And so that you know you are loved. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the meditation video.